While most Pokemon can only be caught, a select few are given to the player along their journey. In this video, I'll be attempting a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Heart Gold using only gift Pokemon. But what Pokemon can I obtain, and how far can I make it through the Johto region? Well, here's how I went. I've included the rules of the challenge in the description, but in short, I'll be using the hardcore Nuzlocke rules with just one exception, but I'll cover that soon. On the topic of gifts, if you'd like to give me one, like the video and subscribe to the channel. It's free and it really helps me out. Anyway, to kick things off, we're given our first gift Pokemon by Professor Elm. Let me know in the comments which of the starters you would pick, but don't even think about saying Chikorita. I decided to go with Cyndaquil, as Fire-type coverage will be hard to come by. I've got a naming theme for the run, so leave a comment if you can guess what it is. The first clue is that I nicknamed my Cyndaquil Socks. EXP management at this stage is vital. As I've only got one Pokemon, taking on all of the optional battles would result in Cyndaquil being overleveled for the first gym. Fortunately, I made it to Faulkner's Flying-type gym just below the level cap. I don't have many tools to work with, so I'm reliant on spamming Ember. Pidgey falls in 2 turns, but lands 2 sand attacks, lowering my accuracy. Fortunately, I got lucky and still landed all 3 of my Embers onto Pidgeotto, finishing the fight and earning my first badge. After the battle, I'm given an egg by Elm's aid and furiously sprint back and forth through the town until it hatches into a Togepi, who I nicknamed Lynx Pack. But don't worry, there's plenty more running as I now need to boost its friendship. This lets me evolve it into a Togetic, who gets a much needed stat boost. Earlier I mentioned that I had one change to the Nuzlocke rules. In this run, I'll be waiving the 1 encounter per area rule. Since I'm only using gift Pokemon, this in itself places enough of a restriction on the available encounters. As such, by giving the correct password to this man, he'll give me yet another egg. After another short marathon, it hatches into a derpy little Wooper who I nicknamed Calendar. I could have also picked a Slugma or Mareep, but Wooper's typing complements my team really well. My next stop is Azalea Town, where Team Rocket are up to no good. Kurt breaks his back, but undergoes a miraculous recovery as soon as I've solved the problem. What a coincidence. Bugsy's only real threat is a Scyther. I land decent damage with Quilava, but my defense is lowered by Leer. Playing it safe, I pivot into Togetic, who can harshly nerf Scyther's attack with Charm. As Quilava can now tank Scyther's attacks, I'm able to switch back in and take care of it with a few Embers. Bugsy's last 2 Pokemon are basically just U-turn fodder and completely free, allowing me to secure my second badge. My rival, Grinch, wants a rematch, but Togetic can easily handle his team with Extra Sensory, a Psychic type move that's really powerful for this point in the game. This is made even easier by the fact that 2 of my rival's Pokemon are weak to Psychic. Too easy. A short trip north brings me to Goldenrod for my next gym challenge. Whitney's Miltank is known for being tough, but for my team, that thing is a monster. While I do have a plan, it's definitely not a good one. I lead Togetic against Clefairy, and merely hope for no Metronome cheese. I land a Yawn, but am crit on the next turn. Great, just what I needed. With Clefairy asleep, I'm free to finish it off with Extra Sensory, while recovering some small health thanks to my Shell Bell. This leaves only the Reaper, Miltank. It only knows physical moves, so my plan is to use Charm to lower its attack. I'm flinched on 1 turn, but successfully nerf its attack by 4 stages. I then pivot into my Whoopie Boy with the intention of using Tail Whip to lower Miltank's defense. I'm not able to land as many as I'd like, since my Wooper is crippled by Attract. Its only weaknesses are Grass and the allure of a woman. Out of alternatives, I finally pivot into Quilava and begin landing Rock Smashes. I suffer a flinch and am immobilized by Attract twice. Things were looking ominous, but on the next turn, I landed my Rock Smash in a big way, finishing Miltank with a critical hit. Whitney's in tears, but I don't blame her. I'd cry if I lost that way too. Even though I had some flinches and Attract turns, I did have my own share of luck in that fight. A single crit from Miltank would have likely led to a wipe. Honestly, I expected to lose that fight, and even began thinking about different strategies for my next run. But fortune smiles upon me, and the run is still alive. Well, barely. Travelling further north, I encounter a deadly tree. My newly evolved Quagsire does the courteous thing and waters it until it calms down. I'm now in Ecruteak City, and what is the deal with this guy's Suicune obsession? It's really creepy, let it go man. My rival is also here, and I'll need to take him on once more. He has a Magnemite now, but Quagsire handles this with ease, and the rest of the battle goes similarly to our last fight. With that taken care of, I engage my night vision goggles and head into the next gym. The Ghost type user, Morty, can be tricky as he uses lots of deadly status moves like Curse, Hypnosis, and Mean Look. When combined, these can easily end a run. Fortunately, I've got a really safe strategy for taking him on. I lead with Togepi, who is immune to ghost type attacks thanks to its secondary normal typing. My plan is to set up a substitute, which will mitigate any status moves. His Ghastly didn't use Curse like I'd expected, but even if it did, I have Roost to recover the damage. With this setup, I'm in Ghostbuster mode and can clean up Morty's team with extra sensory. I ain't afraid of no ghost. My next up is Cianwood, and there's another gym here with my name on it. Chuck's gym specialises in fighting types, but Quagsire is just the man for the job. I mean, come on, he's even built like a punching bag. My plan is to use Surf on Primeape, but Chuck makes a 200 IQ move and switches into his water-absorbed Poliwrath, who soaks up my attack. I hit it with a Yawn, and once it's asleep, pivot into my Togepi. It takes a few turns, but Togepi can remove Poliwrath by just clicking extra sensory. Primeape returns, and this is a bad matchup for Togepi as Primeape knows Rock Slide. A switch into our resident tank puts me in a much better position, but Primeape starts using Double Team. This is a big problem. If I can't hit Primeape, it'll be free to fire off some very powerful focus punches. My fears are realised, and Quagsire takes a gut punch, but barely hangs on. I can't afford to switch, but Quagsire pulls through, landing a second Surf and finishing the fight. That was so lucky, and honestly, this is a blessed run with the amount of close calls that I've had. You might have been wondering, Keegan, why did you skip past the gift Pokemon in Goldenrod? And the answer is very simple. I'm an idiot. Let me explain. There's a man in Cianwood who gives you a Tentacool if you manage to soft lock yourself on the island. I thought I could manage that if I minimised my encounters, but I can't. So here we are, another tiny brain moment. Anyway, the good news is that I can now go back and grab a few extra Pokemon. This guy lends me a Spearow that I'll gladly deliver, wink wink. Next is Bill. He gives me an EV and I nickname it Pets. I can evolve it into one of the available evolutions, but I'm gonna hold off until I decide which one will best suit my team. I'd also have to wait for the right NPC to call me if I want one of the evolutions that requires a stone to evolve. We've got one more, and I've saved the best for last.
Please, you've got to help me. A boy around your age just stole my Pokemon, and I'm worried he'll come back. Can you protect my Shuckle for a while until the heat dies down?
Oh, absolutely. I'd be more than happy to protect your Shuckle.
You promise you'll bring him back though, right?
Oh yeah, of course. Probably. See ya. Look at this absolute defensive tank. It's so slow and defensive that it might as well be a pet rock with some yellow socks glued to it. While leveling our new friends, Spearow evolved into a Fearow, and Shuckle didn't evolve because it's already the pinnacle of evolution. Now heading east, I reach the Lake of Rage where a shiny Gyarados is causing chaos. Fortunately, local hero Shuckle handles it with Bide. I'm also able to find the choice specs here and give these to Quagsire, as let's be honest, he's the only one with enough style to pull these off. After defeating some insultingly weak grunts, I'm faced with a double battle against the Team Rocket executive Ariana. Fortunately for me, my partner is the literal league champion whose Dragonite continues its murderous spree. Quagsire gives the Electrode here a nice relaxing mud bath, suppressing Team Rocket's plans, well, at least for now. Atop the Olivine Lighthouse, the living generator that's trapped here, Ampharos, isn't feeling well. I wonder why. Maybe we should look at an alternative source of power? Or pump it full of medicine and just send it straight back to work. I don't feel so good about this anymore. But then I saw Quagsire's goofy face following me around, and now everything feels better. With those quests taken care of, I can now challenge the next two gyms in quick succession. First up is Price, who uses Ice-type Pokemon. His Seal lead is really weak, like awful. A super effective Icy Wind can barely damage Togepi. It stalls around for a bit with Rest and Hail, but I eventually land enough extra sensories to take it down. Despite Dugong's partial water typing, it doesn't actually know any water moves. As such, I pivot into Quilava and begin chipping away with Rock Smash. It too stalls with Rest, but Rock Smash gives an occasional defense drop. Once these start to accrue, I eventually overcome Dugong without much risk. The final Piloswine can be deadly, as it knows Blizzard, which will be fully accurate if it sets up Hail. Its Snowcloak ability doesn't do me any favours either. I expect a Mud Bomb onto Quilava, so switch into Togepi, but Price decided to go for Hail right away. I pivot around in an effort to stall out the Hail, and then once it's expired, Piloswine tries to set up Hail again, but that's exactly what I wanted. You've fallen right into Shuckle's trap. An Encore locks Piloswine into using Hail, allowing Quagsire to switch in and finish the battle with a few uncontested Surfs. That battle was at least a little close, but this next one is much easier. Quagsire came, Quagsire conquered with Mudshot, and Quagsire left, all the while with that derpy grin on his face. That's badge number 7, and I feel like my team is finally finding its groove. Next up is an assault on Team Rocket in the Goldenrod radio tower. The only real concern here is an exploding Weezing, but fortunately, Quagsire with its damp ability is ready to soak up any kamikaze efforts. While slapping some grunts around in the basement, Quilava evolved into a Typhlosion, giving it an incredible all-round stat boost. But against one of the Rocket executives, my tiny brain mode activated, and okay, we're fine. Phew! My heart can't take this. It's now time to take on the final Rocket boss, but I don't know who you think you're dealing with, this is Quagsire country. His Houndour and Big Houndour both fall to a Choice Specs boosted Surf. His last Pokemon is Coughing, but an Encore from Shuckle locks it into Sludge. Knowing that it can't go boom, I pivot into Togetic and fire off some extra sensories. It hit me with 2 crits and poison. Talk about unlucky. I just scraped by, and the eternally grateful director gives me a feather. Are you kidding me? I don't want that. Open up your wallet, or you'll be going 3 rounds with Quagsire. Your choice. After slipping and sliding all over the ice, I'd made it through the ice path and reached Blackthorn City. The move reminder and move deleter are here, and I'm in desperate need of their services. Poor Typhlosion has been anchored with most of the HMs and has a moveset that's much better suited to a Bidoof. The final gym is here, and its leader Claire is a huge problem. My team of misfits can't compete with the raw damage output of her powerful Pokemon. I mean, look at who we're dealing with here. These aren't exactly top shelf Pokemon. This was less of a problem in the early game, but Claire is by far my toughest challenge yet. After upgrading my movesets, and a little bit of EV training, I formed a plan that just might work. As it turns out, Togetic is the only member of my team with a useful hidden power, Electric type. This makes it a nice counter to Gyarados. I use a Yawn to put Gyarados to sleep before hitting it for solid damage with hidden power. I could have taken it down, but my plan is to set up once it falls asleep. Gyarados missed both its attacks due to my Bright Powder, but this wasn't necessary, just an added bonus. I was intending to pivot into Quagsire and buff its special defense with Amnesia, but Claire can see right through me. This switch caught me way off guard, but I can't afford to switch again. I use Yawn on Dragonair and begin buffing my special defense as planned. Once maxed, I hit Dragonair with multiple Earthquakes to finish it off. The next Dragonair can barely leave a mark on my punching bag sire, and it soon follows. The slumbering Gyarados returns, but since I'm holding a Pecha Berry, I can use Natural Gift, which turns into an electric attack. Fitting with the theme, this move really is a gift, allowing me to finish the dangerous Gyarados. But it's too soon to celebrate. Kingdra is last, and it's the biggest threat on Claire's team, boasting 3 powerful moves. My only choice is to stay in with my boosted Quagsire and rely on not getting crit. I play it safe and land a Yawn, followed by an Earthquake. My Fearow is frail, but it's safe to switch in with Kingdra asleep. My Silk Scarf Fearow can utilise the power of Friendship with Return to land a huge amount of damage onto Kingdra, taking it down in just 2 turns. To get my badge, I'll need to pass a test on how I treat my Pokemon, but if I'm honest, at this point, I'm more scared of Quagsire than he is of me. Feeling compassion towards my entrapment, the old man gives me a Dratini for protection, and I nickname it Razor. The level cap of the challenge won't allow me to evolve it all the way into a Dragonite, but Dragonair could still be useful. Oh god, now Quagsire can even climb waterfalls? He's too powerful, help me. With this newfound power, I navigate through Mount Mortar until I reach the Karate King. After taking him down, I'm gifted a Tyro. I give it the nickname Scales, and this little guy is my last encounter for the challenge. Sure, the Pokemon League is important, but there are beautiful local Kimono girls in my area. It's a 5-on-1, and I'll need to take them on back to back. Talk about outnumbered. I lead with Fearow and intend to overpower their Pokemon with Return. Roost allows me to recover some of my lost HP, and Umbreon falls. Espeon isn't as tanky though, and falls in one shot, as does the Flareon that follows. Against Jolteon, I send in my Muddy Messiah, who laughs off a Thunderbolt and buries Jolteon with Earthquake. The final Kimono girl uses Vaporeon. It's a heavy hitter, so I pivot into Quagsire and land a Yawn. An eventual switch back into Fearow allows me to land 2 uncontested returns, finishing the fight and proving myself worthy to enter the Bell Tower. Real talk, this is one of the most gorgeous areas of any Pokemon game. Once atop the tower, the legendary rainbow Pokemon is summoned before me in all of its glory. A phoenix known as the Guardian of the Skies and Master of the Legendary Beasts. It brings a lot of fire, but I have a Quagsire. A few choice specs boosted Surfs sends it straight back to the ashes. Ho-Oh, Shmoho. Put the real Johto legend on the cover. With that taken care of, I'm clear to head onwards to the Pokemon League. After navigating through the harsh terrain of an empty Victory Road, I'm face to face with my rival, Grinch for one final showdown. His Sneasel lead is fast, but falls to a Lava Plume. Next is Feraligatr, who I consider to be the biggest threat. I pivot into Quagsire, who tanks a critical hit to land a Yawn. I've taken too much damage though, so switch into Fearow. Feraligatr awakens and deals a deadly Ice Fang, but Fearow can finish it off with a second return. Despite its low health, Magneton can barely touch King Quag and falls to an Earthquake. With Haunter up next, I correctly predict the Shadow Ball and pivot into my immune Togetic. After putting it to sleep, Haunter goes down to a few ancient powers. Kadabra can be deadly, but Shuckle locks it into Reflect with Encore. This clears the way for Typhlosion to come back in and gently roast Kadabra with Flamethrower. Last is Golbat, who surprisingly lives a Flamethrower. With only that tiny amount of health, surely Shuckle can get the job done. Well, okay, its attack is pretty low, but one more should... What? The HP didn't even move that time! Shuckle, just how weak are you? The third time's the charm, and a final Bug Bite gets the job done. With that victory, I'm now clear to take on the Pokemon League. While preparing, I received a call from my mother, who'd been off spending my hard-earned savings again. But this time, instead of berries, she'd actually gotten me a Choice Scarf. This is one of the most useful items in the game, and I've managed to get it just in time. After training my team, and upgrading their movesets, only the final hurdle of the challenge remained. This is the Elite Four. First is the Psychic-type Master, Will. Unfortunately for him, Espeon's huge special attack and choice specs allow me to fire off some destructive Shadow Balls. It's an absolute slaughter. Koga's team is packed with Poison and Bug types, so I'm planning on using Espeon and Typhlosion as my heavy hitters. I'm able to torch Ariados with a Flamethrower, but the Forretress that follows can't be underestimated. It has the Sturdy ability and knows Explosion. That's a dangerous mix. To play around this, I switch into my Quagsire, who has the Damp ability. Unfortunately, Forretress doesn't go boom and instead sets up 2 layers of Toxic Spikes. This is deadly, as any grounded Pokemon will now be badly poisoned on entry. After doing some small damage with Quagsire to break the Sturdy, I can now pivot back into Typhlosion and melt Forretress down with Flamethrower. Muck isn't too dangerous, but the toxic damage is really starting to take its toll, so I pivot back into Quagsire. I luckily land an Earthquake, sending Muck back to the sewers. I planned on having Typhlosion deal with Venomoth, but the poison damage has ruined my plans. Fearow's Flying type allows it to avoid the Toxic Spikes, and it can take Venomoth down with a Drill Peck. Last is Crobat, but a U-turn into Espeon lets me end the fight with a Psybeam. Those Toxic Spikes made things a little shaky, but I got there in the end. Bruno's up next, and this is another fight where Espeon should shine. A Psybeam falls just short of ending Hitmontop. It buries underground, so I switch into Fearow, who is immune, then back into Espeon as Bruno heals. With the battle essentially back where we started, I go for another Psybeam and land a high damage roll, finishing Hitmontop this time around. Next up is Onix, and I intend to lower its health before setting up a substitute. How are you that weak? You're a giant rock snake. With that plan out of the window, I'll need to improvise. While Machamp is strong, it really doesn't have much for Espeon. I'm crit by a Rock Slide, but manage to survive and take it down with the second Psybeam on the next turn. With my health low, it's time to pivot into Fearow, who Drill Pecks all over Bruno's Karate Kids to give me my third win. On to the next one. The last member of the Elite Four is Karen and her Dark-type Pokemon. After sending out her Umbreon, Karen asks to speak to my manager, but I hit her with the
"I am the manager."
And Umbreon goes down. Since Murkrow has a flying typing, Hitmonchan retreats, and Shuckle locks it into Pluck with Encore. It doesn't deal much damage to Typhlosion, and one Flamethrower cooks that bird medium well. Houndoom is a poor matchup for Typhlosion, but luckily, I've got just the Quag for the job. Things get a little scary, as Houndoom boosts its special attack to +4, but one Earthquake from the King sends Houndoom back to the pound. I know that Vileplume will Petal Dance, so pivot back into Typhlosion, who tanks a crit and douses Vileplume in flames. Karen's last Pokemon is Gengar, but Espeon has a great matchup and finishes the fight with a Psybeam. With that taken care of, only Lance remained. This battle really worries me since I had so much trouble with Claire. As Gyarados is 4 times weak to electric attacks, my plan is to use Hitmonchan's Thunder Punch. However, Gyarados' Intimidate ability complicates things, so I go with Quagsire and put it to sleep with Yawn. This lets me switch safely into Hitmonchan, who outspeeds Gyarados thanks to its Choice Scarf, and lands a Thunder Punch to secure the KO. I can't take Charizard out in one shot, and it's crucial that I preserve Hitmonchan. As such, I pivot into my tanky Shuckle, who suffers a critical hit and gets flinched. But Shuckle had Charizard right where he wanted him. I use Power Trick, which takes Shuckle's 20 attack and 230 defense, and flips these, giving me a monstrously powerful Shuckle. My HP is low though, and surely this is the end. Shuckle dodges the next attack with Bright Powder and lays down the most destructive Rock Tomb that you've ever seen. That's right, Shuckle just beat Charizard. Sadly, Shuckle had given all that it could though, and this was the end of the road. Rest easy, Shucky. Aerodactyl is deadly due to its huge attack and speed. Since it's a part rock type, I send out Quagsire and land a Surf, but this isn't enough to get the job done. With no safe switches, the king finally falls in an honourable sacrifice. In retaliation, I send out Hitmonchan, who is surprisingly outsped. Fortunately, I live in Aerial Ace and finish the job with an Ice Punch. Lance's last 3 Pokemon are all Dragonite, who are slower than Hitmonchan and quad weak to Ice. Hitmonchan pulls out the Ice Punch and lays down a left, right, good night to slay all 3 dragons and secure my victory over a Pokemon Gold Hardcore Nuzlocke with only gift Pokemon. But it wasn't all good news. I still had one important piece of business to take care of.
I thought you'd never come back. How's my precious Shucky?
Oh, yeah, well, he became a Hall of Famer and even beat Lance's Charizard.
Oh my goodness, that's incredible. So where is he?
He wanted to surprise you. Quick, close your eyes and count to 3.
Shucky, wah!
Before you leave, if you enjoyed the video, make sure that you click the like button below and subscribe to the channel. It's free and it really helps me out. Also, a special thank you to AntlerboyLIVE for voicing Shuckle's trainer. He makes some amazing videos, so if you're looking for more Nuzlocke content, check out his channel in the description. Did you guess the nickname theme for the run? It was awful gift ideas, so if that was your guess, well done. Who do you think the MVP of the run was? Let me know in the comments below. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.